Hello there, Cobra Kai fans! With Part 1 of Season 6 available on Netflix, theories are going wild about the ending of the show, airing sometime next year. There's passion, intrigue, betrayal, and revenge in the air, as Miyagi-Do students take the center stage at the Sekai Tokai, only to come face-to-face once again with their old nemesis, John Kreese. Not just that, they're astonished to see Tori among his students, back at Cobra Kai, as the series finale sets the stage for one final showdown between Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai. Loyalties will be tested, and there could be possible bloodshed. As seen in Season 6 Part 1, John Kreese managed to escape prison and landed in South Korea to train Kim Dae-eun's students. Both Kreese and the audience were quite surprised to know that their grandmaster, Kim Sun-young, was still alive and heading the dojang. Master Kim is probably the oldest character to feature on the show, and before Season 6, it was assumed that he had passed already. However, he is very much alive and in good shape too. He first doesn't acknowledge Kreese's skills and gives him a very dangerous task to prove his worth as a teacher. Despite a few hiccups here and there, John Kreese manages to hold his head high and get Master Kim's approval to train the students alongside Kim Dae-eun. And once again, he begins his ruthless training and hones the anger and hatred within the students to make them lethal weapons in his arsenal for his fight against Miyagi-Do. While Kreese is the main antagonist of the show, it's important to understand where his sadistic side comes from. Kreese was originally taught karate, or Tong Sudo, by George Turner, a captain in the United States Army who fought in the Vietnam War and was the commanding officer of Kreese and Tony Silver. Turner happened to be an old student of Master Kim. Later on, around the 1980s, Silver and Kreese learned karate directly from their Korean master. The aggression in their fighting styles and personalities, along with the overall thirst for victory at any cost, is a direct result of Master Kim's teachings. His granddaughter, Kim Dae-eun, has already displayed her ruthless training style in the earlier seasons, and it all comes down to this old man who had taught karate to most of the antagonists of the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai franchises, making him sort of the ultimate sinister villain. So who is Kim Sun-young, and how is his influence directly responsible for the friction between Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do? We will also explore whether this Grandmaster can compare to Mr. Miyagi, the inspiration behind Miyagi-Do. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
No. Master Kim, maybe you do not understand.
Master Kim's life. While it hasn't been revealed exactly when Kim Sun-young was born, based on his oral accounts, it can be assumed that he was born in the early 20th century, when Korea was under Japanese colonial rule. This makes him quite close to being 100 years old during Cobra Kai Season 6. He had mentioned how once during his childhood, he had snuck into a cave to hide from invaders, presumably the Japanese, and when the soldiers had found him there, he had killed at least a dozen men with his family knife. He ended up losing the knife in that cave during this altercation, unfortunately, and tasked Kreese with finding and returning it back in the 6th season. A lot of fans believe that one of the reasons why Kim Sun-young became such a fierce character is because most of his early life was spent under the heavy-handed Japanese colonial rule, which extended to many parts of East Asia at the time. It's possible that he had witnessed widespread atrocities and acts of violence against Koreans at the hands of the Japanese, which framed his personality into one of ruthlessness. During that time, colonial rule was extremely oppressive in their colonies, and Koreans had their own martial arts style which they were forbidden to practice. Instead, there are accounts of how the Japanese had forced their martial arts on the Koreans, and many people also argue that while modern Taekwondo is a Korean style, it is heavily influenced by Japanese martial arts because the essence of Korean martial arts had virtually no existence during most parts of the Japanese colonial rule. All this information may have seemed like a digression, but the background is important to understand Kim Sun-young's character and can point to his distaste for the Japanese people and their martial arts, which places him as a direct antagonist to Mr. Miyagi. It's possible that over the years, Master Kim practiced his art in secret using the forbidden Korean techniques to create the no mercy style, which could win against all odds against the Japanese. He probably went on to teach this same style to Turner, and then Kreese and Silver Silver, as well as his granddaughter, which can explain the no mercy philosophy of Cobra Kai. The timeline of the movies and the show places him as an exceptional Korean martial arts master, and his life also coincided with the liberation of the Korean peninsula along with its division into North and South Korea. It's hinted that he had also started practicing Tangsudo during this time. After the Second World War and before the Korean War, Kim Sun-young had mastered the art of karate and had opened his own dojang. In fact, when the Korean War broke out in 1950, he was reputed enough to be drafted to train American soldiers to make them better in the art of unarmed combat, as the Korean People's Army at that time used the martial art technique of Kyeok-suldo to fight against American soldiers. During this time, Master Kim incorporated the style of the way of the open hand into the way of the fist, which was a derivative of the Tangsudo style. This created a deadly style that used deception, dirty fighting, utter ruthlessness, and absolutely no regard for mercy or honor. It simply aimed to win and possibly kill the opponent with any means necessary. While it's not mentioned exactly why Master Kim went this way and created such a brutal style, many fans claim that it was a result of the horrors he had witnessed while growing up in colonial Korea, along with the later long-drawn conflict during the Korean War. It kind of makes sense for a man to become embittered and hardened after witnessing that kind of violence, but at the same time, other fans argue that Master Kim always had some natural inclination to violence and brutality, which made him come up with such a deadly technique. This offensive-oriented style was probably very successful on the battlefield, but after the war ended, its continued practice came under a lot of controversy. It's mentioned how Kim Sun-young was a notorious figure in the East Asian martial arts community because Sato Taguchi, who was also an instructor for the US military, was revealed to house great animosity for Master Kim's fighting style. And to be honest, a style as deadly and brutal makes sense when it's to be fought in a battle, but considering that martial arts were later practiced not to kill, but to simply learn and hone, the continuation of a style suited to battle really was quite extreme. We know that Master Kim taught it to Turner because he fought in the war, and in turn, Turner taught it to Kreese and Silver because they were fighting in another war. But later, when Kreese and Silver personally learned from Master Kim, there was no reason for the older man to teach them the exact style that was used as a warfare technique. Kreese later taught his students at Cobra Kai this style and emphasized the lessons he had learned from Master Kim and Turner, that is, showing no mercy to opponents. As a result, Cobra Kai students turned out to be just as ruthless, brutal, and devious as their instructors, and simply understood karate as a way of fighting and defeating an opponent, as opposed to Miyagi-Do followers who learned karate primarily to ground and discipline themselves. Kim Sun-young had married at some point in time and had children. His granddaughter, Kim Dae-eun, is shown to be familiar with Kreese and Silver, and she also teaches at Cobra Kai for a while. Master Kim stayed in Korea all his life and kept teaching his brutal martial arts to the next generation, which included Dae-eun, Hyun-woo, and Odell, who later started teaching at his dojang. Master Kim's successor. Kim Dae-eun, being his granddaughter, is considered to be his successor as she is one of the primary instructors at his dojang. Based on what we've seen of her so far in Cobra Kai, she's also very ruthless and cunning, with an eye for the diabolic. She had once told her students about how she used to train in Korea, where along with the other students, she would have to scale Chilisan, the tallest peak on the mainland. They would have to train at the peak all day as well as after nightfall, wearing heavy packs filled with water. Dae-eun would wear 2 packs to make sure that she would never ask her students to do what she herself could not achieve. In Season 5, she's recruited by Terry Silver to be the chief sensei at Cobra Kai under him. It is soon seen that she is even more cunning and ruthless than Silver, and she reveals her sadistic side when she keeps tormenting the students not just through intense physical means, but also emotionally. In particular, she is extremely distrustful of Tori and encourages the students to keep fighting even if the result is brutal. Silver and Dae-eun punished Tori later by forcing her to smash through a solid stone, which almost broke the girl's hand. She presumably escapes later and is seen in Season 6 back in Korea, training students at her grandfather's dojang. Kim Dae-eun is a fierce fighter, and she cares about her grandfather's teachings making it to the world stage. In Season 6, she, along with Kreese, tries to persuade Kim Sun-young to let his students enter the Sekai Takai under the banner of Cobra Kai. However, it's probably her actions in the previous season that make her grandfather call her a failure, since she was not able to teach his style well in America. Following this, he tasks Kreese with finding the Kim family knife he had lost all those years ago in the cave, warning him of the dangers involved. Kreese finally manages to get the knife back, much to Master Kim's satisfaction, and he allows Kreese to train the students for the Sekai Takai. To many fans, while Kim Daeun is the direct successor of Master Kim, Kreese is considered his true successor because of his cunning and ruthless nature. Kim Sun-young may have trusted his granddaughter with teaching the students at the dojang, but he never forgot to chastise her for her failure in America. It's also possible that he is a product of a time when women were considered inferior to men, and sexism in Korea is quite prevalent even today. So he doesn't see her as a true successor. This is why he made Kreese prove himself as a worthy sensei, and not Daeun because he probably underestimated her skills but had faith in Kreese. This is why Master Kim handed over the dojang to Kreese, because he realized Kreese had become like him. He just wanted to win and did not care about the costs. All John Kreese sees in the students are pawns that can break bones and spirits and earn him a name globally. Can Kim Daeun redeem the Kim legacy? While Kim Daeun always considered both Kreese and Silver as sort of big brothers and wanted the former to help her with training the students, she admittedly has a lot more honor than either of her grandfather's students. This is seen firsthand in Season 5, where she doesn't support Silver after it's revealed that he had bribed the judges at the All Valley tournament. Therefore, in Season 6, once Kreese takes over and sees his tactics, she is shown to be somewhat agitated. Kreese doesn't care about the students, except for their physical prowess. While this is a bit hypocritical because she behaved the same way with the Cobra Kai students in the previous season, it is possible that seeing her Korean students, who she probably regards more than the Americans, get brainwashed by Kreese's all-or-nothing mentality hits her hard. While she knows Kwan's potential and wants him to get stronger, she doesn't necessarily agree with Kreese's methods in training the young boy. Daeun probably wonders about the toll it will take on Kwan, but even if she doesn't agree with it, she doesn't question Kreese's methods since they seem to produce results. After all, John Kreese no longer cares about simply winning, he's out for blood. This is why many fans believe that parts 2 and 3 of Season 6 may set the stage for Kim Daeun to redeem the Kim legacy of no mercy. She's been surrounded by egotistical men all her life, from her grandfather to Silver and Kreese. While she is in no way beneath any of them in terms of skills, she's always passively sidelined due to her status as a woman. Now that Tori has gone over to Kreese's side, it is common knowledge that the man will utilize the grief within the young girl to drive her toward his goal. Kreese may have affection for Tori, but he will still use her as a pawn to further himself, and fans predict that Kim Daeun will probably disagree with him on this point since she's already seen and not been impressed by how Kreese was using Kwan's anger to make him stronger. Maybe she was not the biggest fan of Tori in the last season, but seeing Kreese use a young girl to exact his revenge may just be Daeun's tipping point. She can end up being the one to set Kreese on his path to redemption by making him a good and fair teacher. Or she could fight to take back control of the dojang and remove all traces of the toxic masculinity that her father and Kreese had inducted. Her character might end up being significant in turning the show to a more woman-centric approach, and Tori might also end up redeeming herself. In this way, she could be instrumental in redeeming the Kim legacy and righting the wrongs of her grandfather. It could be a reminder to Kreese and all of Kim Sun-young's students that they shouldn't have followed a style designed to kill on the battlefield to learn martial arts. The war is long over, and passing on that vicious cycle of hate and brutality is not the way forward, especially when young, impressionable children and teenagers are concerned. What Kim Sun-young went through in his life is not the reality of today, and teaching battlefield tactics to young children can result in catastrophe. Of course, all of this is simply speculation, but as the show ends, fans would like to see the practitioners of the Kim method get some closure on their demons. Mr. Miyagi versus Kim Sun-young. Who is stronger? Mr. Miyagi and Master Kim are pretty much the central sources that led to the formation of Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai, respectively. As such, while both of them taught martial arts, their techniques were very different. And even more importantly, the intent with which they taught was at opposite ends of the spectrum. Mr. Miyagi's technique is mostly defensive and uses the opponent's strength against them, while Kim Sun-young always went full-on offensive and never let the opponent win. This doesn't indicate that Miyagi-Do only knows how to play defensive. Mr. Miyagi has displayed more than once that he doesn't shy away from a fight. However, he also preaches the value of restraint, honor, and fighting with integrity, the complete opposite of what Master Kim taught. It's very clear that Mr. Miyagi and Master Kim are the strongest people in the franchise, and while they have never come face to face with each other, fans speculate who would have prevailed if they had. It would be pretty reckless to make any guesses in this context, since both of them are grandmasters of their craft with opposing techniques and ideologies. Kim Sun-young is obviously a much better fighter than any of his students, who Mr. Miyagi has defeated on numerous occasions. Let's leave it to the fans to decide who would win in this scenario. The Sekai Tokai sets the stage where Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do will take on each other for one final fight. In a way, the winner of the tournament will also decide who is stronger, Mr. Miyagi or Master Kim. Miyagi-Do follows the former, and Cobra Kai is formed on the latter's teachings, so it will be a clash of ideologies, fighting styles, and egos. Even though the two central figures may not fight each other, their respective schools will, and the result of the Sekai Tokai will ultimately prove whose teachings will prevail. Marvelous verdict. Well, that was all for this video, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. Even though he's only mentioned in the movies once and appears for a short time in the series, Master Kim Sun-young is arguably a very significant figure in the franchise because of his direct relation to the antagonists. As we explained, it's his brutal teachings that laid the core of the no mercy philosophy of Cobra Kai and determined the psyche of John Kreese and Terry Silver. If Kreese aims at redemption, he has to let go of the core of what he had learned from Master Kim all those years back. The Sekai Tokai will, as well, determine which philosophy prevails and be a symbolic fight between Mr. Miyagi and Kim Sun-young. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.